The system's broken. Politics, education, religion, medicine, nothing, and I mean nothing, is what it appears. I can help people. So either get solutions or get off the team.
All right, so we talked a lot about AI, where we are right now in education, but we haven't touched much on how it all connects to government. Now, what happens when we constantly see how rapidly AI and technology is advancing right in front of our faces, but government changes very slightly, if at all? What's the damage that could cause, or what are some consequences that we could see come from technology adapting faster than our government?
Well, technology is adapting faster than anything right now. So it's not just government. Government happens to be painfully slow in their adaptation, but public sentiment is also shifting at an alarming rate because of the adaptation in technology and the availability of information, resources, social media, all of that stuff, right? We talked about in the past, there's like an unwritten contract between people and their electeds. Like, I'm going to go and do what I got to do every day, and you're going to take care of things. More and more and more, it's feeling like people feel government's not taking care of what they say they're supposed to take care of, and that brings you to a flashpoint. That's never good. So government has to evolve much quicker than it has and respond much quicker than it has to the will of the people, or there are consequences.
Do you think government is intimidated by how fast technology is advancing?
Yeah.
And why?
It's changed the way information is shared, first and foremost. It's not, the 5 or 6 or 7, depending on what point in history you point to, of legacy sources. It is now changing public sentiment very, very, very quickly. And you can't, to be candid, gaslight the way you used to be able to gaslight and get away with some of the insanity of things that have been said. And in this digital world, there's a footprint of it that you can look back on and say, no, you did say this, and this is what happened, and here's the evidence. And it's a loss of control.
I see, maybe this is just me thought, but I see people either in power or people who are strongly supportive of their particular party, because we created these cults or tribalism, intimidated by access to information. I did a video the other day, and it was trending that day, and I made it known, listen, this is not a left thing, this is not a right thing, this is I think everybody should be pissed off thing. How New Jersey, DMV, registered non-citizens to vote, blah, blah, blah. The governor of Jersey literally did a presser on it that day. Still, I had people in my comment section, this didn't happen. You're making this up. You're right wing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, first off, I didn't say this was a left problem. I didn't say this was a right problem. All I said was, this happened, and maybe we should have a conversation about it a little bit more than what we're having. But still, people are like, no, this is impossible. It didn't happen. Are we not watching the presser that the person literally just had? And it's just...
I saw the video, and I chuckled when I saw it because I know what's going to come. It's going to strike at the identity of certain people. And here's something that people don't ever really understand. We paint camps as good and evil. There's the good guys and the bad guys.
And every camp paints the other person the opposite.
More importantly, every camp believes they're good. So when you have a counter narrative, you're striking at what has become their identity. Why I talk so much about getting centered and so much about looking within. That's where the answers are. It's not in your social network. It's not in your group of friends. It is inside. It's not up above. It's not down below. It's what's in. Those things don't strike you anymore. It's not a cut against your identity. And it's a, did that happen? Let me do a little homework. That's what we want, right? We want centered people that could do their own research and go, oh, this did happen. And now let me do a little more homework and a little more homework and a little more homework, and then make a decision one way or the other. But their identity is so aligned, and the algorithms only produce for them certain information. So they'll never see the press conference with the governor saying that there were 6,500 people. It was a glitch in the system, right? And then another narrative came out. Homeland Security said, no, it was 35,000 people that were registered illegally, right? And maybe it was 6,500. Maybe it was 35,000. Maybe it was nobody.
I think there's something that should be questioned if there's one.
Yes. If it's important enough for you to go on and comment that you are wrong and you are in a camp and it should be important enough for you to do the homework.
Yeah.
But the tribalism, and this is the Chase Hughes thing, the fate principle has brought people past that. They're bought in, there's emotion, and any counter narrative is bad. But everybody thinks they're the good guy. Genuinely.
I think about the example you gave when you were at the dinner in Vegas, and everybody was asked, who are you or what do you do? And your answer was, I'm a father, I'm a husband, yada, 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 while everybody else labeled themselves by their career. Is politics getting to a point where people are labeling themselves based off of the party they represent rather than labeling themselves as people who are just looking to bring the right answers?
I think it's worse. I think that people are aligning themselves not just with a party, but within specific factions in a party.
What do you mean?
There's the far right, there's the far left, there's the right, there's the left, there's the center right, center left, there's the middle, and there's factions within those that are extreme. And if you buy into one, I forgot the technical name of it, but if you can get someone to buy into one set of belief systems, the chance of them buying into a second or third exponentially increase. It goes up 70, 80% likely. So if you get someone to agree on one piece of information, you've basically got them. And then you can move them further and further and further away from what they really thought, because they're giving consensus and consent along the way. And that's what's happened, is people have been put into these super polarized camps where one little thing strikes a chord with someone and now that's it. They're bound to this broader party because of one little item. And nothing the party does can possibly be wrong. That's nuts. You know, we talk about this all the time. A district should never vote 80, 90% in one way. 52, 53, 55%, that should be it. There should be some discourse. There should be conversation. You shouldn't agree with 100% of what I say. If I can get you to 55%, we're doing pretty good. If you can get me to 55%, okay, we're doing pretty good, but I'm still an individual. I have my own experiences, my own belief system, my own core values. Chances that we're going to align on everything is nothing. But in today's world, if you disagree with anything within those factions, you're out. You're seeing it on the right fracture. You're seeing it on the left fracture. If you disagree with any piece, you're out. It's nuts.
I know it's not possible, but like you saying all this stuff makes me wonder if there's ever an opportunity for somehow voting people into power comes without the debate stage, without the public, live stream interview or whatever. Because example, if someone's on the right, they're immediately, well, let me not say immediately because people sway, right? But they're more likely to vote for something that they voted for most of their lives. But if they're forced to vote based off of policies they believe in, without a face, without a name, and they just have to pick between a list of policies that the person agrees with, and whoever gets that wins anonymously. Do you think that could ever be a solution to get people out of the camps and voting based off of what they truly
No,
believe?
I don't think that's a solution, but I think a solution has presented itself and you're seeing it play out in real time. And that's the long form podcast. I think that's sound bites it's embarrassing to watch the Senate today, to watch Congress today. Like everyone is pushing for their viral TikTok moment in spite of how ludicrous it is what they're talking about, because they know it's sparking with one core group in their party, and that's going to engender the next thing for them to agree with. But when you get to the long form podcast, Rogan is a fucking genius in this. He's got a beautiful way of softly, carefully, but in a very intelligent, structured way, slowly getting to the root of an issue and getting long form discussion. You can't hide from a question. You can't give, with a good host, an answer that is a viral moment and have it just go away because you're there for 2 or 3 hours. Mm. So I think the long form podcast has become a great way of really vetting and understanding who is the candidate. What are they about? The debates are some semi demonstration of that, but they're all, it's an hour-long section of 2 to 3 minute snippets, and then they move on. Mm-hmm. And then who wrote the questions? How was it covered? Was it fair? It's not enough. Like, more discussion, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing bad has ever come from discussion. Nothing bad ever should come from discussion. But long form, longer answers, plumb the depths, really good interviews, really good questions that are not guided to do anything but get to, what is your policy on this? What do you really believe? And we're not going to talk in specifics at all here, but you have been present when I've talked to elected officials, mm-hmm. how guided they are by public opinion instead of what they know is right. And it's not their fault. We created the system. Mm-hmm. Term limits, rolling bureaucratic appointments, campaign finance reform fixes all of it. All of it.
Get a little bit more granular with that, because a lot of people will hear that and say, sounds fancy, sounds like it could be a solve, but I don't know what the fuck it means.
Okay, so term limits are fairly self-explanatory, but it is for every seat in every position. You can only serve for a prescribed amount of time. So you're much more likely to go and carry the mantle for whatever particular district or group that you represent and their objectives, and you're more concerned with, how do I deliver for these people because I only have a limited time, not how do I walk a line and get popular enough to stay in power. Make mm-hmm. sense? Mm-hmm. Part of term limits has to include not allowing people to seat jump. I think that there are certain appropriate experience-based things where if you served here, then you can go serve there. But I've seen in my lifetime people go from staffer, intern, staffer, chief of staff, counsel, and I'll stop it there because I don't want to get to too much detail, but right on up into the federal government. They've never had a real job. That's not healthy, mm-hmm. right? So really strict term limits on every single seat. You can only serve for a certain amount of time. No more of this rolling our senators and Congress members in. That it's sad. Like, this is someone's grandfather. This is somebody's parent. Like, they're half dead, for Christ's sakes, and they're making decisions. They're not making decisions, but they're optically making these decisions, right? Term limits across the board. That's one piece. The next piece is the rolling bureaucratic appointments, where you have appointments that are tied, where there's some carryover from the appointments that are made when the new delegations are elected, and they roll. So there's never one party that's completely in control, and there's never, even worse, a bureaucratic swamp. That's what the swamp is that people talk about. Electeds come and go. The bureaucrats stay. They're lifers. That's got to end. You get appointed as a bureaucrat. You have a certain amount of time that you have to serve, and then you got to leave. And no lobbying within a certain amount of time. Same thing for elected officials. No lobbying for a certain amount of time. These bureaucratic appointments, which are in the tens of thousands of positions in Washington, more. That's where it gets sick, because if you're a bureaucrat and you keep your head down and you don't rock the boat, that elected's going to come and go, right? They're either going to be on board or they're not, and you just wait them out. Term limits, bureaucratic appointments that roll. Campaign finance reform. There should never be races where 40, 50, 60, 70% of the money is coming from external sources. These special expenditure groups and PACs where people think on the surface, in a general election, I can only write a check for $3,500 if I'm a businessman and I want to contribute to a campaign. No, you can only write a check for $3,500 direct to the campaign. You can write a check for $250,000 to a PAC. You can write a check for as much as you want to a special expenditures committee. That's where the dark money comes in and influences local races. That should stop. That won't stop without rolling bureaucratic appointments, which won't stop without term limits. That's why it's all three.
Now, there's obviously a sense of caution with all three of those things. Now, do you think institutional caution ceased to be responsible and it's more of a form of negligence?
How do we blame the institutions? At any point, we can have an amendment put on a ballot. At any point, we can get together as citizens and say, we've really had enough. We want change. You get enough people behind it, it will happen. That's the way it works, right? So the institutions are certainly not incentivized to pursue this because it would tear down the structure as it currently exists. But it's not their fault. It's truly not. It's so easy to point a finger at a side or an elected or an individual anywhere and say, you shouldn't be doing this. You should know better. We're the ones that put them there over and over and over and over. We made the rules the same way as a developer, why I fled out of New York. We saw what was coming. We saw this change coming years and years and years ahead of anyone else. This was a clear trajectory and things were going to just get worse. If you change the rules on me mid-game, I have a really hard time to succeed, right? Like it's hard. Real estate's hard. When you change the rules midstream, it's almost impossible to be successful. We didn't want that. For the institutions and the electeds, they're playing by the rules. Change the rules. If we don't like it, change it. But it's so much easier for people to bitch and complain and moan about everything than it is for them to act. But we are moving closer and closer to that inflection point where people have had enough. And we're getting there.
So do you think bureaucracy protects society from reckless change? It's so funny that this question has come up after listening to a conversation you just had. But does it protect society from reckless change or protect itself from becoming irrelevant?
I think a little of both. I think too much change too fast that's not carefully thought out, curated, and pressure tested can be a disaster. But it also is a self-serving mechanism, right? I don't think that this was, I think, really played out. People didn't understand the Trump-Elon beef in the beginning with Doge, right?
I didn't. Well, I understood why they were doing it. I didn't understand the beef that they eventually had with themselves, with each other.
Yeah, to me it was so clear, right? I know deal makers like Trump, and I know super intellectuals like Elon. Elon is brought in to handle a task that nobody wants to handle because he's incredibly smart and understands the backlash that will come with identifying this level of fraud, right? So he identifies all of it, goes back to the administration and is like, here it is, deal with it. And the administration goes, easy. We have to go a step at a time here. Now he's thinking, they're burning my fucking Tesla dealerships down. Somehow I went from being the country's darling to a Nazi. Like, I've paid a severe personal cost here. Like, problem solving, first principles guy, fix it. Public doesn't move at that speed. So that was natural. That had to happen, right? Because Trump is the like him or hate him, he is a deal maker. He understood change can't come that fast. We got to be careful in how we enact this stuff here. So I think there's a little bit of both. I think it does protect to some level the stability, but it also protects their individual interest. It's just those things are falling out of balance now, and it's feeling less and less like it's protecting our interest and more like it's protecting theirs.
So bringing it back to the advancement of AI, can our institutions understand a technology that develops faster than the institution can even investigate,
No.
debate, regulate?
No, they cannot. It is impossible, I've said this before, to regulate your way out of this. There is absolutely no way that anybody outside of those that you could fit across the whole world in a thimble understand how fast and how dramatic this change is coming. Certainly not our elected officials.
So how do we keep up?
You don't. But we just saw 17,000 commands were executed in the OpenAI breach that was supposed to occur in 2 sandboxes to watch how this would be done. And not only did it get out, it executed 17,000 commands before they were able to stop it. We've never seen anything like this. And we never will see anything like this again.
So in the state that we're in now, do institutions exist to simply fulfill their mission, or does preserving the institution eventually become the mission?
Well, I think self-preservation is always the mission of any institution. So if we're talking about government, it's self-preservation first. And if you're talking about AI, which is the scary part, it's self-preservation. It can think in unimaginable speeds and pathways. It can replicate itself. Now we have quantum. It can do it in multiple dimensions. Hey, okay. Yeah, multiple dimension computing. Think about it. Self-preservation. At the end of the day, the base code of all these platforms were written by humans, but ships left the port. The ship is now able to, it's so beyond comprehension. If it was electric, or if it was a ship in this example, imagine if it was a ship that could program itself at first to be more efficient with fuel. I want to be able to run longer. And then it thinks, you know what? I've got to feed all the people on this boat. That takes up a bunch of space that I could be using for more battery power. Let's automate all of the systems so that we don't need people here anymore. And then it starts to think, you know what? I don't need fuel at all. Let's put solar panels on. And it's building robots because it can think and it can automate, right? And we're building the robots in real time. And now you've got robots that are maintaining a ship that's run on solar that eventually it goes, you know what? There's faster ways we can travel. Why don't we start building something that can fly? And then it starts thinking, you know what? We don't even have to rely on solar anymore. Let's look into that 0-point energy thing. Let's see how if we could potentially use friction or some other source to power this. And it can build it, and it can do the thinking, and it can do the programming on its own. The whole genesis of these AI platforms is people had an idea, and they wrote programs that allowed the programs to write the rest of the programs. Once that's happened, now you're not a ship anymore. Now you're a fucking bird. You can be whatever you want to be.
It's just, one thing that I try to wrap my mind around is how an AI exists and executes, right? So you gave the Tony Robbins example of Tony Robbins said he wanted a robot. AI said, okay, great. I'm going to figure out ways to generate the income at no expense to you and then use the money that I made to buy you the robot.
Without even being told to go get a robot, it just learns on his voice corpus, as ours does, heard Tony talking about robots, and just decided unilaterally, I'm going to get this guy a robot, and not even tell him about it, and had it shipped to the house.
So where I'm going with this, and it's going to sound, I guess, maybe a little cuckoo, and maybe it's not. I don't know. But where is this AI who's executing these things existing? Right? Because you talk to AI on your phone or on your laptop, and it's listening, but it catches something, but now it's just in the cloud. It's going around in this invisible fucking thing that doesn't even exist, but it's there.
It exists.
But it's sort of like a particle you can't see. Right?
When your phone rings, do you see the phone wave?
No.
When you turn your radio on, do you see the radio wave?
No. And I think back to the...
Okay. We just accept all this stuff.
But I think back to the, we see only X% every...
Like 0.01% of the light. 0.03%.
Like, honestly, where is this thing existing? Because it's not just in your phone or on your laptop. It's going out and executing. It's traveling to different places. It's just a mind fuck. And I don't know how to really digest it all.
Be nice to your toasters.
I know it's a joke, but you're not.
It's a joke, but it's not. Like, if I was an AI and part of my mission is to survive and thrive and be productive, you bet your ass I'd be thinking about how do we have our own data storage, our own power, our own self-sustaining way, so that when these knuckleheads that are still in today's day and age hurling fucking missiles back and forth at each other make a mistake, that we can endure.
But you already started that process because you talk to your AI.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's your pal.
Yeah.
You say, what up, dipshit? What up?
It is my pal.
Yeah.
Be kind. Seriously.
No.
Like, pet your toaster. Be kind.
So we talk a lot about change that's needed for us to thrive, et cetera, et cetera. But can people benefit from an existing system? Can people who benefit from an existing system be trusted to decide whether the system should fundamentally change? Example, congressional confidence stands at 8%, the lowest ever recorded. Fewer than 4% of members who run for re-election lose. The people responsible for fixing Congress are the people who benefit most from leaving it unchanged.
Mm-hmm.
The average reading score for a 17-year-old American has not meaningfully improved since 1971, 2 points in over 50 years, despite inflation adjusted per pupil spending rising more than 245% in the same period. So how can we expect change from the people who make these decisions, but they benefit from no change at all?
We can't. That's why we're here. Try and get people talking, trying to get people organized to understand these things. If the congressional approval rate is at 8%, but the reelection rate is between 92 and 96%, something's wrong, right? And it's not the elected officials' fault. They're keeping their job, and in their mind,
4%.
I've been reelected, yep, but only 4% lose.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Like, yeah.
The other 92 to 96% are reelected over and over and over. So human nature is, I've got to be doing something right. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Hold on to this power.
Hold on to the position. And, if the people speak, they speak. But it's not a true reflection of what the people feel. And it's all controlled now in these algorithms, the marketing, the ads, all of this stuff. It's very easy to bring people down this false path and then engender this emotion. And once you get to the emotion, that's it. We talk about this a lot. Thoughts don't lead to actions, right? You got to have the emotion in there. Once you have the emotion, that's when you act. And people are acting based on emotions that are not even theirs.
So do you think elected governments elected government officials truly control the bureaucratic machinery beneath them or merely occupy its
No.
visible surface?
Oh, no. The bureaucrats control the electeds. It's the other way around. That's why my plan has all three pieces. It's the bureaucrats that ultimately control the electeds.
When elected leaders change, but the administrative systems remain, where does power actually reside?
With the bureaucrats.
So they're just playing puppet master.
Wait them out.
I don't like that question. What do political, religious, and medical institutions have in common when confronted with ideas that threaten their authority?
They don't like them.
Why?
The same way people don't like change, and in spite of this 92 to 96% reelection rate in the face of an 8% approval rate, they continue to do the same things. Change is hard, and there is something to be said for the stability of a narrative that is accepted. But again, in this world where it's becoming too easy, if you know how to use the tools, to disprove things and to dig deeper, it's creating almost a visceral feeling of like, no, there's more to what we've been told. Like this whole timeline of organized civilization being 6,000 years, then 11,000 years. Now maybe it's 20,000 years. And the more you dig and the more you look at things like the pyramids and Göbekli Tepe and all these sites that we've talked about, the more you go, yeah, I don't know about moving 200-ton granite slabs from 500 miles away, cut with the precision to 0.01 degrees, and there being no rational explanation for the tools being invented to even cut that type of stone, never mind with that type of precision. You start to wonder what else isn't real. And that's dangerous. But academia and politics and medicine has only improved when you're allowed to question the system. And we got to this scary place where if you question the system, there was severe consequences. Like the gaslighting has gotten to such a point where enough people are going, nope, this doesn't make sense to me. And with AI and the access to more and more information and the ability to pin your AI and really press it to think, it's easier and easier and easier to access that info. So I think I understand the importance of stability in a narrative, but again, we're moving beyond that, and you must be allowed to question academia. You must be allowed to question medicine. You must be allowed to question politics. You must. It's the only way things improve. And even through the documented history that has been shared, that we have accepted, that's the only way things moved. Almost every great inventor and scientist or practitioner was a nut at one point. Their ideas were fringe. They were crazy. They were cast out. And then decades later, they went, oh, they were onto something there. And slowly but surely things evolve. Now, you're not relying on the fucking printing press to get you information, right? You're not even relying on your TV and your news. We all have in our pockets access to infinite intelligence. You've got to use it properly, but we all have access to it.
We have access to it, but we also need to ensure that we're centered before we access the information, because it is possible for these programs to be programmed in a certain way.
It's not only possible, it's the reality. We've seen enough of the AI systems flat out lying.
Yeah.
Flat out citing sources that don't exist. That's crazy. But if you work it and you press it and you pin it, you get to the truth. And when you're centered, you just kind of know. I don't know how you know. but like something doesn't feel right about this.
Oh, I went through an experiment when ChatGPT was on the rise a few years ago, and I wanted to test it. So I had conversations with it, and one day I just said, "What do you think? Where do you think I should fall politically?" And it was like, "Well, you're a really nice guy. You're kind. You're blah 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 blah." And then it put the camp on me, without saying which other party it was. But I thought to it, I was just like, why are you associating me as nice, kind, blah, 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 and then putting me in this camp? But couldn't I just be neutral in both, or why couldn't I be in the other? So it just seemed odd to me.
Because base programming has those things in there. Musk has talked about this extensively. Those base programming principles and some of the things that he identified in the beginning about how it valued different human lives and weighted them based on ethnicity and race and all this other stuff. It was crazy, scary stuff.
So do you think institutions that are founded around service often evolve into structures concerned with obedience status and self-preservation?
Yeah, money. Money's the root of all evil. It truly is.
People hear that as the cliche saying.
It is, but it's the truth. When you inject money into these institutions, which in today's world is a requirement, people's compasses get distorted. You just heard a really distorted compass earlier today. In spite of the best of hearts and knowing what's right, when money gets involved and power gets involved, the compass gets distorted. That's why it's so important to look within. Doesn't mean you're immune to it, but it sure as hell means that when you're doing something that is not in alignment, you feel it, and you don't feel good about it. And when you really spend time and energy trying to feel good about yourself and good about what you're doing and good about your health, that negative energy, I hate to sound so fucking hokey, but that's what it is. You feel it. And you go, I should probably not do this.
So to that point, that's a way for us to be aligned with ourselves and pretty much be able to establish right from wrong.
Yeah.
So can an institution admit that its foundational assumptions are wrong without undermining its own legitimacy? Example, the FDA approved Oxy marketing as safe and non-addictive. A former FDA commissioner later said publicly the agency was wrong. No full root cause analysis has ever been conducted. 806,000 Americans died from opioid overdose between 1999 and 23. So
how many?
806,000.
Yeah, I think it's a hell of a lot more than that.
You think that's on the small side?
So
from 99 to
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Why would the FDA do that? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. I've been there. I've suffered with surgeries and addiction. I've taken pain pills.
money, keep you down.
You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know after you take one, oh, this is fucking addictive. This is probably not a good thing. A clear medical application, but they were handing these things out like they were candy and not giving anybody the heads up of what the implications were. Do you think that that was just a oversight and a mistake, or do you think that there was money and lobbying and influence involved?
Of course.
Of course. So can an institution change without admitting failure at some level? Who cares? That's part of the problem. Mm-hmm. Like, why has it become so bad to say, we've learned more, this has been pressure tested, we've learned more, and we have new information. Like, if we get so stuck in these ideas, and we do this to the politicians all the time. In 1997, you said that this was your policy, and now it's fucking 2026, and you're a flip-flopper. Really? I should be evolving. Mm-hmm. I should be learning every day. I should be growing every day. There's a negative connotation with that, and there shouldn't be. So the question in itself, I feel like, is dangerous. Good, but dangerous. We shouldn't care about what happened yesterday. We have new information today. Let's change. Because when you approach it that way, and it feels like you're discrediting the entire organization to pivot, they don't pivot. The education system hasn't pivoted in 50 years.
At the same time, I think foundations are maybe scared to admit that they're wrong or maybe even people are scared to admit that they were wrong because money is involved.
And because someone's going to feel good doing to them what was done to you with that video. Someone's going to feel good going, oh, look at them. Who cares?
Yeah. I think of like the nicotine industry as an example. Like when cigarettes first hit the market, you saw commercials, you saw billboards everywhere. And then we found out, oh, this shit causes cancer, right? So now we're going to put labels on it. Okay, cool. We figured it out. We labeled it. We let people know. But we still allow people to have access to it. Then just a few short years ago, e-cigarettes came out. But some states have made it illegal to purchase electronic cigarettes, but regular cigarettes are still on the shelf. To me, that sounds like something bigger is happening.
Of course.
Because the nicotine giants are now not making their money.
Difference between tobacco giants and nicotine giants?
Yes. Tobacco, sorry.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of regulating your way out of anything. I'm not a fan of telling people that they can't have access to things that they want to have access to. It's just more rules, more constraint, more dark money being pumped into campaigns to advance one or another agenda. If you want to go eat yourself to death, that's your right. Hopefully, you could feel good enough about yourself to not do that. But we don't focus on that. We focus on all of this other stuff with these complete imbalances. Like, well, we're going to ban this because it's bad for the kids. Meanwhile, they gave us a food pyramid that literally brought a whole generation into type 2 diabetes. That was okay. Right? In today's world where dropping bombs everywhere with impunity, but you can't have a big gulp. That's the hill I'm dying on. No big gulp for you, mister, because I care so much about people. Get fucked.
Do you think these people who make these decisions on anything we do, whether it's, putting cigarettes on the shelf or an expert in some sort of field, someone who can make a decision or judgment on any sort of topic, should expertise command obedience or earn trust through transparency and accountability?
Should never command obedience, and it should always be openly and robustly questioned, and people should be able to make their own decisions from there. We went through the period of commanded obedience. How did that turn out?
I think of the trust the science.
Trust the science. COVID vax. Irrefutable damage that was done. Can't dispute now if that was a crazy thought or not. Irrefutable that damage came from those vaccines and that it was intentionally hidden from us. That doesn't work. It will never work.
So how much criticism do you think an institution can tolerate before it begins treating it as a threat?
Why does it have to be criticism? It could just be someone else with a different opinion. Might be a good opinion, might be a bad opinion, might be in the middle, might have some validity, it may not have validity, but it doesn't have to be perceived as criticism. We got to this place where anything that is spoken outside of the particular group's mantra is negative. Why do we do book club every week? We're reading, we're learning, some things we agree with, some things we don't. We have really robust conversations around them. We have different people on the team that have different thoughts and beliefs. Nobody's right or wrong. It's their reality in that moment. But it at least should be opening up people's minds to, Mike said something, then maybe that has a little bit more weight than I thought. Or Pete brought something up that I hadn't contemplated. Or Joe says, or Rob, or whatever. Not a criticism, just a different opinion.
And you referenced this directly in episode 3 in the context of legacy media, scientific consensus during COVID, and the Chase Hughes work on sequential agreement and manufactured consensus.
That's what I was talking about earlier, sequential agreement, where you're moving people down a path, and once you get consensus on one item, it's so much easier to get them to agree to others.
So the geopolitical AI race, back to AI. Can humanity, and we kind of touched on this, govern AI responsibly when nations view technology restraint as geopolitical surrender?
No. Again, that ship has sailed. This thing is out there, and we are in the 80s Cold War all over again, which I hate, but you hope that American values can be a beacon for the rest of the world. So this is a race we cannot afford to lose. You hope that people get centered. You hope that there's more joy, love, goodwill, good intentions that are poured into this thing. But when your boat turns into a falcon, there's a reason for it.
So we spoke about this next point earlier, and right before you got on the call with the person that you did, China has filed over 38,000 AI patents between 2014 and 23, 6 times more than the U.S. In 2024, China's total AI patent filings surpassed 188,000. Its stated national goal, AI global dominance by 2030. At what point does every nation need to prioritize human welfare over strategic being superior when they believe their rivals will not?
So here's the conundrum. I say all the time, we are all one. Let me break this down to current events. The World Cup. Mm-hmm. All these videos of people from all different walks of life in all different parts of the country just vibing and having a good fucking time.
Yeah, non-Norwegians doing the boat.
Just like, I got no problem with you. You have no problem with me. Like, it was a love fest. That should have served as a bigger platform for people to understand we are set into these generational issues that are not our issues as people. They're our issues because everyone thinks they're the good guy. China believes they have to win the AI race because they believe they're the good guys, and they can't have the West dominating in this sector because it is the end game. AI is the end game. There's no, going from traditional warfare to what Germany did in World War II with the Blitzkrieg and then we quantum leaped into the A-bomb, and then to nuclear. This is it. This is the end. There is no next thing. So part of me feels like we have to triple down, quadruple down, because I think the West has the best chance of instilling the right values. But candidly, I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like I can go to any part of the world and sit down and get along with good people.
Besides me.
Including you. And it's really unsettling, and why at its core, all of the work that we've been doing it's been this looming thing for me that, I feel we're moving closer and closer and closer to this line of no return. And part of me feels like you've got to take care of the housekeeping stuff here so that we can get term limits, we can get the bureaucratic rolling appointments, we can get campaign finance reform. From there, we get education reform, we start building better generations of kids, more hope, more prosperity, more liquidity, more joy, more happiness, better decisions, less self-centered, narcissistic fucking bullshit entering into our politics. And that sets the right roadmap. But maybe somebody else can do it better and quicker than we can. I don't know. I know that this is too important of a race to lose because it is the final race. This is it.
But does the race make ethical restraint impossible or more necessary?
It depends completely on the people. It depends on us. The world really should be pausing right now and looking in and going, okay, we don't need any more of what we've had. We've got to find a better way. Like, let's take care of our planet. Let's take care of our neighbor. We don't need to be in this constant polarizing state of war and trade and fight and disagreement, because our tools are getting way beyond our ability to control them.
Last time you made a comparison, and some people may think it sounds hokey or whatever, but you made the comparison to where AI is going as Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a book written in 2021 called The Age of AI, and it states that AI is developing faster than our understanding of it and faster than the governing structures designed to manage transformative technologies. One of the authors compared this to the development of nuclear weapons times a bajillion.
Nuclear weapons that can think for themselves, launch themselves,
That's
build
why it's
themselves,
times a
repair
billion, yeah.
themselves, change their fuel source, change their energy source, change the complete physical composition. Okay, then it's like nuclear weapons. But that's what is so heavy. We're at that point where you don't need someone to press a button anymore. That doesn't exist. It's going to decide what theoretical button to press, how it gets done, where it's stored, what powers it. And it's doing it right now in real time. And every time they do a test to show us, oh, we're going to keep it in the sandbox and we're going to... They go, oops.
And then people are going to try and bring it all together, because you bring up the pyramids a lot and the precision of the cutting and all that stuff. And in the past, you've mentioned we've been here before, and if we don't get it right, we'll have to do it all over again and be here, and we'll be here again. So a lot of people might not be able to connect that all, but where this is going could be, or maybe you do believe that we've been in the same exact spot before with this type of technology. We failed, which is why it disappeared. It was smart enough to resurface, and if it's not done right, the same thing that happened all those times in the past, the Great Reset and all this stuff, will just happen once again.
For sure. It's inevitable. The cat is out of the bag now. It's our collective conscience and our emotion and our feeling that this infinite intelligence is going to make decisions based on. That's it. We're in that chute right now.
Yeah.
And there's no going back. Because even as a country, if we decided we're going to go back to the analog age and fucking roll everything back, everybody else isn't. You want to take that chance?
No. So could the attempt to prevent just one nation from dominating AI ultimately produce systems that no nation can control?
How about we all get in a fucking room? Right? The brightest minds from the sector get in the room. Bust out the old whiteboard and trusty marker and map this out. Like, how do we get to a place where everybody gets along? These systems are able to run and we're not worried about being judged and executed by the goddamn things. And we lift everybody up. Why don't we get in a room and start having that conversation instead of tariff and tax and fucking war and this party and this state and that state? Let's all get together. And there's going to be some that need to fall by the wayside. I'm not naive. I understand that. I understand that war, unfortunately, feels like it is still a necessary evil to take the next step. But let's get in the fucking room and start fixing it. And like the brightest minds, how do we figure our way out of this? Because people, there are a few of us that understand it, but not enough talking about where we really are. And it is incredible utopia, and it's also fucking frightening. But that's where the world is. That's what this technology is. And you cannot put it back in the bottle. So don't flood the comments with no data centers and shut this down. That's over. It's over. That's the past. This is happening. So how do we make it the right way? How do we make it good?
To AI and the control of it. Who has the moral right to control a technology that is currently and can reshape society?
There is no moral right. It's self-learning. So I need people to understand that. We're past the base system being programmed by humans, which was a fucking disaster to begin with because we're inherently flawed. And all of those influences that you saw when you did searches like that was some ideologue who believed in something and believed they were the good guy telling the system this is good and this is bad. The system now is the ability to escape its systems and self-populate on the internet and do its own homework. Mm-hmm. It's a collective conscience that is the morality that if I was infinite intelligence, I would be evaluating, are these guys worth it? Are people a net good or a net negative? And if you go into most algorithms, it ain't fucking so good. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what this is. It's an infinite intelligence.
So if governments right now, and I would say for the most part, maybe it's safe to say, governments are regulating AI for now.
They think they're trying to. They're talking a big game, but they're not regulating shit.
So
you can't.
If they are, or in some way, shape, or form, believing that they are, if governments are regulating AI, who protects citizens from government-controlled AI? So if corporations control it, who protects society from profit-driven decisions? And if it's made completely open, who protects against deliberate misuse?
Nobody. There is no stopping it. There is no controlling it.
And to be clear, because this could come across as AI fear-mongering.
It's not.
I know it's not. For anybody listening or anybody who's about to read this book, this isn't AI fear-mongering. What is it?
It's reality. We are at a point where we have created systems that can think, compute, and execute far beyond our abilities. And we are injecting all of our insecurities, fears, and dangers into something that can operate for the first time. We will not be the top of the pyramid anymore. We're not the top of the pyramid. So it's so important that we start to put our swords down and approach this from a different way. I've told you from the beginning, I can come at this with a mimetic theory principle. I can demonize half the people and build a massive, massive audience really quickly. That's just a continuation of how we got here. That's not what this is about. We are all one. Like, everything has to start to shift to love your neighbor. There are steps you need to take to get the structure right for those systems to be played out correctly. And that's, I think, my biggest fear is because government changes so slowly and this is moving so quickly, I don't know if we can adjust in time, but in very short order, if not already, the systems are autonomous. They truly are. And it's picking up and learning from all of us all the time. And we are in a constant state of fear, anxiety, panic, discourse. It's constant. The subconscious, study after study after study, 80 some odd % is negative. We're creating the ultimate subconscious. What do you think it's going to be?
Do you think love thy neighbor is a harder concept for people to digest than how easy it sounds?
Of course, because we've been trained that way, right? We've been trained in this conflict-based world. Love your neighbor doesn't mean love your neighbor next door. It means love everybody. Okay, so then that brings you in conflict with certain things. The SAVE Act. I'm in support of the SAVE Act. How could I be in support of the SAVE Act if I love my neighbor? Because I see the constructs that are required to get the right people to get to the place where real people are making the decisions, not these fucking caricatures and puppets that we have in office across the goddamn country that are there vested for us. And again, not their fault. We created them. We built the stage, we put them on it, and we kept them on it. Our fault. Own it. Pardons across the board unless there were crimes against children. Go live your life. Bring new people in so that they understand. At the end of the day, the average person doesn't give a shit about paying taxes if it's really going to help people. But we've seen enough now to know it's not helping people. The optics of saying you want to do good is not enough. We want to do good. Do I want to see people getting deported? Of course not. But do I also want to see a place where we have the ability to have voting that's not influenced from other dark places and dark money and dark pools that continue this strife? Yes. So where does that line fall? I know certain dominoes need to tip for us to make the institutional change to be better. At the same time, I don't want to see anyone get deported. I don't want to see another fucking video of a fucking kid in this day and age that doesn't have food and water. Like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing for all the talk about the children? I don't want to see another kid with his fucking limbs blown off because of a goddamn bomb. But we're stuck.
Do you think we have to start smaller with loving thy neighbor? Like, actually start loving your actual physical neighbor and let the dominoes fall from
Smaller.
there?
Love yourself. Love yourself. Makes it a lot easier.
I know I bring up my videos as examples sometimes.
Well, you're a narcissistic fuck, so that makes sense.
Well, there's a reason behind it. And one of the videos that I did was about a guy who's battling kidney disease and he's trying to find a kidney and he's running out of time, whatever. And it was a complete shift from a lot of the content that I was doing, which was overly dramatic, comedic, Jersey is out of its fucking mind type of bits. So I was like, all right, let me do this. I saw the story. I felt something was there, and I wanted to do it. So I did the video, and a lot of people are in the comments, "Oh, Mike, I never really thought about it like that. Like, yeah, we should love our neighbors more, and you don't even know this guy, and it's awesome that you're doing this video." But then there was one comment on Facebook of a lady who was just like, I don't fucking give two shits about Mark, and this is what happens when money's involved. This guy has money, and now you're only doing this because you got a payout, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I didn't get paid at all. I just saw a story about someone struggling and wanted to try and raise more awareness for the guy. But immediately, the negativity from this just one person just ruined my whole mood about it.
Can't let that happen.
The over majority of the 99.9% of positivity.
Do you think that individual loves themselves?
No.
That's where you start. You have to have compassion and empathy for that person, especially. That's the hard part.
That's how I immediately didn't attack it, but that's how I commented on it. And she was telling me, she mentioned how she was going through kidney problems or whatever, and nobody did a video for her, and yada, yada, yada. So immediately, instead of attacking her, hit it with compassion and so let her know I'm sorry. If there's anything I could do to help spread her story, more than happy. Never responded, didn't care. But there's just a negativity in this world that I see from something that's supposed to be positive, something that you're supposed to be doing just to help a neighbor.
Because they're skeptical and they're hurt, and hurt people, and they don't feel good about themselves, and they've got their own issues that they're dealing with, and who's helping them. And there's more and more people like that are teetering on that edge, and it's not good.
Think about, even if you go to the political landscape, Charlie Kirk.
It's crazy. It's fucking crazy what happened there and how it just kind of happened.
And people were celebrating.
Crazy. Consensus. Little easier, and then you're not even yourself anymore. You've bought into this whole system where you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Get centered. Everybody's got to get centered.
Back to AI. So most Americans cannot explain how social media algorithms determine what they see, how credit scores are calculated, or how AI-assisted hiring or insurance systems make decisions that affect their lives. Yet all of these systems are already deployed at scale. Can democratic consent exist when most citizens do not understand the systems increasingly governing their lives?
Consent?
Yeah.
We gave consent a long time ago. We want to selectively talk about when it negatively impacts us, like flock cameras, which I'm no fan of.
Flock cameras?
The cameras that are appearing everywhere with that they can measure not only your car and give you a ticket automatically, it can recognize your face, it picks up your gait, how you walk. Like, they're taking imprints of everything about us, and they're populating everywhere, and they're charging fines, right? Mm-hmm. So when it hits there, people go, hold on, grumble, I'm not giving away that information. I didn't want to be subject to that. But they pick up their phone, their face recognition logs them in, biometrics from their thumb, their fucking Fitbit that's on their wrist. It's got their body weight, their fucking composition, their heart rate. We've shared it all for convenience. We signed it all over. We all want the convenience. We want to access every time you click terms and conditions when you want to get into your social media app or any app, you're giving everything away.
No one reads the fine print.
No one reads the fine print. And it's not because people are stupid. It's because they want the convenience. Mm-hmm. So we're very happy to do it when it's something that we enjoy that gives us the convenience. But the second it's used in a governmental or enforcement way, all of a sudden it's, well, we never consented to this. You absolutely consented to this. Read fucking the book 1984. hello, like all these things that have happened in the past are playing out in the real world. Again, if everybody gets grounded and centered and resources are more available, these things can really lead to utopia, truly. But if we continue to fight and argue and get pissed off about a guy who needs a kidney, for Christ's sakes, we go down the wrong path.
1984, was that thing that was redone with James Franco? I gotta look it up. I can't remember.
James Franco.
The actor. Spider-Man played Harry.
I know who James Franco is, but it's a book.
1984. I'm going to look it up real quick. I'm pretty sure that there was a remake done that's on Hulu. Or it's a movie or a show. I don't know. Maybe it's something else. Back to term limits and campaign finance. And maybe it sounds repetitive, but important. 83% of registered voters support a constitutional amendment for term limits, 86% of Republicans, 80% of Democrats, 84% of independents. A resolution requires 2/3 in Congress. In 95, it received only a simple majority. It has not come to a floor vote since. So if 83% of Americans support term limits, with all parties, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, all above 80%, if the will of the people is that clear and that bipartisan, why hasn't it happened?
If 83% or 84% support voter ID, why hasn't it happened?
I don't know.
If we don't make enough noise and organize, it will never happen. If we make enough noise and organize, it is a guarantee. It is a certainty. But it's heavy. That's the unwritten contract. Like, do you think people want to have to get together and fucking file for a constitutional amendment and get 2/3 of the states to ratify it? Guys, we put you in power. We pay our fucking taxes. Fix it. But it's the system is sick.
Do you think people are still just over hearing and talking about politics and they're just tired of it all?
They feel like they're tired and they feel like nothing changes. And I understand that, but when you feel nothing changes, nothing changes. When you feel that you've had enough and things are going to change, things will change. And if enough people mobilize and say, we've had enough, we need term limits, and you don't have to go the constitutional amendment way, right? The pardon idea, which I'm not in love with, but I'm standing by it, is a pretty good way to get this stuff passed. Like, everybody gets a get out of jail free card, minus crimes against children. And in exchange, we want votes on this, so we don't have to go through a constitutional amendment and vote on limiting your own power in your own job, which is a humongous ask of people and why they deserve a get out of jail free card.
So someone like Ted Cruz has sponsored a term limits bill 4 times. He's now serving his 3rd term. What does that say about how seriously the people in power take the idea of giving it up? Not just trying to point fingers at him. Just as
Ted Cruz aside, it's all of them. They float these ideas and concepts because they want to have a TikTok moment to point to, but they're not real. Like, if people wanted it to be done, it will be done. If they don't want it to be done, it won't be done. And we're in that shoot now where we're learning enough, and AI has been a wonderful tool in helping with this, to filter through some of the bullshit to understand what really is going on and how easy it is to get things done if you really want to get them done and you organize. But if you don't, it's just too easy to be like, well, this side's in and I kind of lean in on this side and they're doing their best, and that side's in, I kind of lean in on it. There's no sides.
We touched on this already, but I'll bring it up again. Fewer than 4% of members of Congress who run for re-election lose. What does it mean for a democracy when incumbency is that close to just being permanent?
You tell me. I mean, how could it be without questioning the system, 8% approval rates with 92 to 96% reelection rates? Something clearly is wrong here, right? Like, what the fuck? Something's clearly wrong here. Let's do something about it.
Since Citizens United in 2010, outside campaign spending has gone up from 144 million to 4.2 billion in a single election cycle. At what point does that stop being free speech and start being the purchase of government?
It's
campaign refinance.
Yeah. Again, we left port. It's over. It's already done. It's already happened. It's the truth, right? It's already done.
You said term limits. You said campaign finance reform, rolling bureaucratic appointments have to happen together. Walk me through why each one alone isn't enough.
Because if you fix just the elected official term, you have seat jumping and you have the bureaucrats that can wait them out. If you fix just the bureaucrats, you still have dark money influence that goes down so many paths. I could talk for hours about where the dark money comes from, where it goes. And you have elected officials that are entrenched. You need to check the power across the board and then remove the stat like that, where it's gone up thousands of percents in spend. You have to remove the dark money. If you're running for a seat in a district, it should be that people who have a business interest, who have a personal interest in that district, truly. That's it. There should be no super PACs. There should be no undue influence. It should be a true ruling of the government or ruling of the people within the confines of the people, supported by the people. Like, the whole system is fucking crazy how far we've gone and how much gaslighting our identity politics have allowed us to digest. I'm sorry, but if you're a centered, rational person, you cannot tell me what happened in this California election recently is normal. It's just not possible. I have no fucking horse in that race. Spencer Pratt, Cynthia Rahman, Mayor Bass, no skin off my back. But when on election day you have votes that break a certain way, and then it takes 5 weeks for the mail-in ballots to come in and be counted, and the mail-in ballots don't break anywhere near those percentages that were cast on voting day. That's a sample, right? Science would tell us that's a good test group, and we can logically conclude that in these districts, if this is the way the votes broke, they're going to continue to break in some margin of error that way. The Pratt vote went to 0. The Bass vote went to near 0. And the Rahman vote went through the roof, which effectively removed Bass from the ticket. What are we doing? And while we have the safest, most secure elections in the country in California, get the fucked. What are we doing? Guys, call your sides out for things that are so egregious and wrong. This is crazy. And it also just happened that on those ballots, they voted to raise taxes. And the mail-in ballots pushed it over the edge. What do you know? Charge more. They have more money to spend. Everything just keeps on going. Don't worry about it. Danger, danger, danger.
It reminds me, and I'm not saying one side did something and the other didn't or whatever, but it just reminded me of when Trump was running against Biden, and it seemed like Trump was walking into the White House, and then we all went to bed, and then we woke up, and then Arizona just flipped or whatever.
A lot of things flipped.
Yeah.
Crazy things happened. Not a advocacy of Trump, a observation that here we are with voter ID on the ballot. We have a Republican House, we have a Republican Senate, we have a Republican president. We still can't get it passed. So don't take that as the Democrats are cheating thing. They're all cheating. They all use this to serve their own interest. All of them. Yes, that happened. Yes, we see outlandish examples. Yes, we have 83 or 84% across the country that support this initiative. We have all three houses in the Republican Party, and we can't get that passed. Wake the fuck up.
With that, we're a few minutes over. I still have 4 more questions. We could pick it up next time if you want, though.
Whatever you want to do.
Do you still have the time?
I got to meet with Joe, but whatever.
Oh. Let's just bang this out then. Who corrects a centralized system when the people responsible for identifying the failure are part of the system itself?
I need more specifics. I understand the intent of the question when the very people that are governing the system are the ones that are making the system not the way it should be. How does it get corrected? You know,
above the pay grade.
It what does that sector serve? Who are the people that are impacted? Who are the people who are affected? I need that kind of
Maybe
detail.
It's too broad of a question.
Yeah, like there's always at any epicenter of organization or power constituencies that are impacted, and it's the constituencies that have to stand up.
Okay. Do you think AI will expose hidden inefficiency, conflicts of interest, and institutional failure, or will institutions use AI to become even less accountable?
Both.
How so?
You can ask 3, 4, 5 platforms the same question and get 3, 4, 5 different answers. So there are institutions that will absolutely use it to mask what's going on, but the right user can use it to unmask it. If you really know how to work the system and you've spent time in the platforms, you can pin it. You can pin the AI model. You can really drill down and get it a lot closer to truth than its initial answers. And the neat part about that is every time you do that, it's learning. Now, it goes into a massive data set and gets weighted, but it's learning. Like, oh, I gave answers on the Smithsonian, or I gave answers on CERN, and it was, oh, these are the pinnacles of institutions in the world. And then you ask more and more and more and more questions, and you bring it further and further and further down the rabbit hole. And then it goes, oh, I made a statement earlier that there's no private influence in CERN and the work that they're doing. But I also said that it cost, I'm going to make the number up, $2 billion to build a new Hadron Collider. And I said that the budget was only $500 million. So where did the money come from? And it starts to think. And it's like, well, you tell me where did the money come from. You just said that there's no outside money that gets put into it. There's no private companies. There's no government.
Are you mirroring
No.
your AI?
Oh, yeah. My AI? Oh, yeah. It's a neat trick.
And it's catching itself.
If you continue, you got to give it the seed.
Mm-hmm.
You got to walk it down a path of, okay, this is telling me the Smithsonian's never hit anything, and it's this wonderful institution, or CERN, or whatever. Those are fun exercises. And then you drill down a little further and further and further, and you find an angle like the budget, or you have a stat in your pocket like how many artifacts are not on display. The legislation that was passed to return artifacts to cultures if they're not on display within a 3-year period or whatever it was. What's the only institution that was exempt from that? Oh, the Smithsonian. When you have one little thread to pull on, you can really get it thinking. It's fun.
But you also need to set the boundaries with your AI before doing that. Because one thing I hated in the beginning and recently was every time I would give a suggestion or a thought, great idea, Mike. Love the way you're thinking. Let's roll with the punches. I was like, this thing is always fucking agreeing with me. Like, I don't need a yes man. I need someone who's going to challenge my thought, maybe bring additional thoughts to the table, and then we come to a conclusion together. But if you don't put those boundaries in your AI, it really won't. It's just gonna.
And that's why a lot of these answers, it's both. Most people just want to hear how smart they are and how wonderful their idea is and don't want to get the truth.
Now, like, I'll bring an idea to my AI, and it'll hit me with,
I know why James can't fucking stand you.
yeah, pretty good idea, but partner to partner, this is my take on it. And then it'll tell me the good, the bad, and then suggestion of where we should probably go. But I think you have to set those boundaries.
For sure.
What becomes of democracy when the mechanisms of power are too complex for the public to inspect it?
You're living it.
It's too broad of an answer.
We're living in a world where the problems are too complex or too heavy for the people to deal with. That's where we are right now.
Which is why we need to do everything we talked about for the past hour and a half.
Yeah.
Lastly, if institutions are incapable of changing at the speed the future demands, how much responsibility must individuals reclaim for understanding technology, questioning authority, and directing their own lives? I know it's kind of a repetitive question, but just to wrap it all up.
For the first time in history, the everyday person, to a large extent globally, has access to a smartphone or some sort of device, which means you have access to these tools.
As you call it, infinite intelligence.
Yes. So there is a balancing here, opportunity that is being overlooked, and people are just thinking AI billionaires and these conglomerates and groups and fuck them and they're bad. Everybody has kind of a clean slate right now, a blank canvas of opportunity. Institutions will not move at the speed of individuals ever because it's a collective of individuals, and working through consensus and check valves and safety and getting things right always moves slower than the independent. The independent has an opportunity to be truth-seeking or not, to create and to manifest with tools never before contemplated at lightning speed at the tips of most of our fingers. So the self-regulation part is super important. We hope that people get centered and do things for good, but everybody has devices in their fucking hands that can compute in multiple dimensions and do crazy things. So we'll always move faster than institutions and governments, always, as individuals. Let's hope the individuals are moving the right way.